Right, so get this. We're diving into something that, for a while there, I think had more people talking than even those California wildfires.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty wild, and we're talking Khabib Nurmagomedov,
Oh, wow.
the Eagle himself, retired, undefeated MMA champ.
Yeah.
And, well, the guy got booted off a Frontier Airlines flight.
No way.
Yeah, and economy class, no less.
Wow. That's interesting how such a simple travel thing, became such a huge deal online, right?
Right.
I mean, everyone was talking about it. Hardcore MMA fans, people who don't even watch it, and even Conor McGregor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
McGregor definitely had something to say about it.
Oh, for sure.
But let's back up a little bit and just lay it out for everyone.
Yeah.
So Khabib, this multimillionaire global superstar,
Right.
is flying economy on Frontier.
Yeah.
Not exactly the private jet lifestyle.
Yeah, that had people confused, why isn't he flying, first class? Like Chael Sonnen was saying, hold up, why isn't he flying in style given his status and how his team usually travels? It's not like he's short on cash.
Right, exactly. And even Joe Rogan was wondering the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, is Khabib just being thrifty, because the guy's known for driving a Toyota and all that?
Yeah.
But Rogan also pointed out how calm Khabib was through the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Even when they're taking him off the plane, he's totally composed.
It is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Given the situation. I mean, so basically what went down was a woman on the flight complained to a stewardess saying she felt unsafe with Khabib sitting near the emergency exit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how Khabib didn't make a scene or anything, but he and his teammate, who's also an MMA star,
Right.
refused to move.
Hold on. They refused to move?
Yeah.
Was there something specific about those seats, or were they just making a point?
Well, it's not totally clear from what we've seen, but the whole racial profiling thing definitely comes into play.
Yeah.
Khabib later said it was two tourists who were uncomfortable with him just being there.
Wow.
And, that statement alone just blew up online.
Yeah, it definitely feels like, bias could have been a factor, especially with Khabib's background and, how he looks.
Yeah.
It's just unsettling to think that someone could be treated differently just because of that.
Absolutely. And, it really kind of brings up these deeper anxieties that people have about flying anyway.
Yeah.
Security concerns, feeling powerless, against the airlines, and just the potential for discrimination.
Right. It becomes this lightning rod for a bunch of frustrations people already have with air travel.
Exactly. And then you throw a celebrity like Khabib into the mix.
Right.
And it's not just a random thing anymore.
The whole story.
Everyone has an opinion, and that's where social media comes in, right? Acting like a megaphone.
Yeah.
Amplifying all these opinions to a massive audience. I mean, even Conor McGregor, never wanted to stay quiet, posted something on Instagram seemingly supporting Frontier Airlines.
I bet that got people talking.
Oh, yeah.
But wait, there was a call for a boycott, too.
Oh, yeah. You had figures like Sunglasses MMA and Hezbollah. They're pretty big in the MMA community online.
Okay.
They urged people to boycott Frontier, full on.
Wow.
Saying everyone should leave protest messages whenever they see one of their planes.
That's taking it to another level.
Yeah. Talk about taking action.
So you got McGregor on one side, kind of siding with the airline, and then these boycott calls.
Yeah.
It sounds like Frontier is in a PR nightmare.
They were definitely feeling the heat, for sure. I mean, they did try to share some positive messages from other passengers, saying good things about them, but the damage was done. It became the perfect example of how fast things can go crazy online.
Totally.
And how a company's reputation can just tank like that.
It's wild.
It is.
So beyond the boycotts and McGregor's, little jab, there we have a whole bunch of other people in MMA chiming in with their thoughts, too.
Oh, yeah. Everyone had something to say. John Anik, the UFC commentator, was pretty critical of U.S. airlines compared to international ones. He even mentioned his own experiences with TSA.
Oh, wow.
And like Sonnen, he was also surprised that Khabib wasn't flying first class.
It does seem like everyone just assumed he'd be living that luxury travel life.
Yeah.
But speaking of drama, there was this whole side story with Nate Diaz and Islam Makhachev, one of Khabib's teammates.
Oh, that's right. Makhachev said he had this respectful encounter with Diaz in an elevator a few months back. But then Diaz went on Instagram and was like, nope, never happened.
Haha, no way.
Yeah, he even said Makhachev was lying.
So much for keeping things friendly.
Right.
It's like a whole soap opera.
It definitely adds a whole other layer to it.
And speaking of layers, we even found this clip from a comedy podcast where they were breaking down the whole Khabib incident.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, this is where things get interesting. What do they have to say?
So these comedians are talking about Khabib.
Yeah.
Are they making fun of him?
Well, they're definitely poking fun at the situation,
Right.
the whole like multimillionaire champ flying economy thing.
Right.
But they also praised his composure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Through the whole thing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to picture.
Right. And they also got into a discussion about like the airline's jurisdiction and rules.
Oh, interesting.
Which, most people don't think about until something like this happens.
Right.
Like how much power does an airline actually have to remove a passenger?
Yeah.
And what are the passenger's rights?
Well, those are good questions. I'm guessing most of us just assume they can do whatever they want.
Right. There's definitely a power dynamic there.
Yeah.
And these comedians were highlighting that even if it was through humor.
Right.
Oh, and you won't believe this. They even predicted what Conor McGregor's reaction would be.
No way.
And they were spot on.
That's hilarious. It just goes to show you how these things, even serious ones, become like entertainment online.
Totally. But beyond all the jokes and the social media frenzy, this whole thing brought up some serious issues.
Yeah.
Like we can't ignore the elephant in the room, the racial profiling thing.
Yeah, a lot of people felt like he was treated differently because of his ethnicity and how he looks.
Right.
He even said it was two tourists who felt uncomfortable with him, which just adds to that whole argument.
It's a tough topic for sure, but it's important to acknowledge that perception of bias.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not unique to this incident. It reflects a much bigger issue that people face all the time.
It's a sad reality.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about, how we can address those biases that still exist.
Right.
But this whole thing also got people talking about celebrity culture and the expectations that come with it.
Yeah, it's interesting how some people were genuinely shocked that a multimillionaire champion would fly economy.
I know, right? Like, it somehow goes against how they think a celebrity should act.
There's this assumption that famous people should travel a certain way, and when they don't, it throws people off.
Right.
It makes you wonder about the pressure they face to maintain a certain image even in their personal lives.
Yeah, it's got to be exhausting, always having to live up to those expectations.
And on top of that, this situation really highlighted the power of social media in shaping narratives and influencing actions.
Yeah, like those boycott calls against Frontier that gained traction so quickly online that could have a real impact.
It's a double-edged sword, though, right?
Yeah, how so?
Social media can give a voice to the voiceless and hold powerful people accountable.
Right.
But it can also be used to spread misinformation and just amplify outrage.
That's true. It's a constant reminder that we need to be careful and really think about what we're seeing online.
Exactly. We can't just accept everything we read or see.
Especially with these sensitive situations.
Right. Speaking of things we don't always think about, this incident also shed some light on airline policies.
You're talking about those regulations the comedians were discussing.
Yeah, like what actually gives an airline the authority to remove a passenger.
Right, and what can a passenger do about it? It's not something most of us know much about.
Exactly. But it's good to know those rules are there.
It's funny how something as simple as a guy getting kicked off a plane can turn into this whole big discussion.
Right.
Touching on everything from racial profiling to social media to airline regulations.
It's like a perfect storm of interconnected things, and each one raises these important questions that are worth exploring further.
Oh, totally.
But before we wrap up this Khabib saga, there's one more piece we need to talk about.
Okay.
Khabib's response and the rise of his team.
Oh, yeah, we can't forget about that. I mean, Khabib didn't just sit there and take it. He had a pretty calculated reaction.
Right, let's get into that.
All right, so we've talked about the incident, the social media reactions, everything. But what about Khabib himself?
Right.
How did he handle all this? I mean, it's not like him to just stay quiet.
Yeah, you're right. He didn't just let the story spin out of control. He addressed it head on and in a way that was both smart and strategic.
So no comment from Khabib?
Not a chance. He laid out his side of the story and really emphasized that he speaks English.
Oh, okay.
And could have helped in an emergency.
Right, like challenging that whole reason for taking him off.
Exactly, and he didn't stop there.
Oh, really?
He also kind of subtly brought up the bias thing by mentioning that the complaints came from two tourists who were uncomfortable with him.
Oh, wow. So he's adding fuel to that racial profiling discussion.
Exactly. It was subtle but effective.
Yeah.
He shifted the narrative from being a victim to an advocate,
right,
raising awareness about a problem that affects so many people.
And then he kind of seamlessly goes into promoting his team and their fights at UFC 311.
It was masterful, really. He basically said, hey, you might try to ground the eagle, but watch out, my team's about to take off. He specifically mentioned Islam Makhachev and Umar.
two rising stars.
Yeah, and even said they were angry about the whole situation.
Oh, wow. What a way to build hype.
Right now, fans are even more invested in their fight.
Totally. He flipped the script. Instead of dwelling on the negative, he turns it into a promo for his team.
Classic move in combat sports, using any attention, even bad press, to your advantage.
No such thing as bad publicity.
Right. And it worked. Everyone was talking about Khabib's team and their fights.
And let's not forget about those custom shorts they wore at UFC 311.
Oh, yeah. Those designs were amazing.
And they had some meaning behind them, right?
Absolutely. Islam Makhachev shorts had this incredible Dagestan mountain design.
Right, a tribute to his heritage.
Exactly. And Merab Dvalishvili's shorts had a Georgian proverb on them.
Better to die in honor than to live in disgrace.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, those weren't just fashion statements. They were symbols of their stories, their values.
Right.
So to wrap it all up, this whole Khabib and Frontier Airlines thing wasn't just a travel mishap.
No, it became this huge discussion about so many things: racial profiling, celebrity culture, social media.
Even those airline regulations.
And in the middle of it all, Khabib showed us he's not just a great fighter,
Right.
but also a really strategic thinker. He took a bad situation and turned it into an opportunity.
To empower his team and bring those important issues to light.
Exactly.
It's a good reminder that even when things seem bad, there's always a chance to flip the script.
And come out stronger.
This whole thing definitely leaves us with a lot to think about.
It does. How do we confront those hidden biases in our own lives?
Right. How do we deal with the complexities of social media?
And maybe most importantly, how do we turn setbacks into opportunities like Khabib did?
Those are great questions and honestly worth talking about with others.
The best deep dives are the ones that get people talking and thinking.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride into the world of MMA, social media, and everything in between.
It's been a journey.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on all this.
Yeah, what do you think?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
It's not about the language.
I know how to help you, and now you guys, because this woman don't ask the message, don't understand what she's talking about.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're either gonna have you switch your seat because my flight attendants are not allowing you to sit in the exit row, or you're gonna have to get off this plane and then we'll have to leave because they're not comfortable with you sitting in the emergency exit row. My flight attendants. And unfortunately, it is fair.
It's not fair.
Yes, it is.
But you guys, when I was not in check-in, they asked me, do I know English? Yes, I said.
And they said yes.
Yes.
I understand that, but it's also off of their judgment. I'm not going to do this back and forth. I will call a supervisor. You can either take a different seat, or we can go ahead and escort you off the plane. Which one are we doing? Okay, I'll call a supervisor, and then we're going to have to rebook you for a different flight. Josh, do you copy?
Punchlines and punches, hard hits, sharp wit, no holding back.